Good afternoon, folks. I've got discussions for you. We're discussing when the body's clock speeds up, what a rare disorder reveals about the crisis in aged care. Okay, that's the title of the presentation. Let's get going, shall we? Aging has always been treated as background noise in American healthcare. And inevitability we acknowledge but rarely confront. We build entire systems around its consequences: frailty, multimorbidity, cognitive, cognitive decline, caregiver burnouts, but we almost never ask whether aging itself is something we can understand, anticipate, or even shape. Then a rare disorder appears, so uncommon it affects only a handful of children worldwide. And suddenly, the quiet assumptions beneath our aged care system began to crack. A disorder that ages children overnight. Hayen Sprouse Sproul Jackson syndrome is a devastating genetic condition. Children with it develop the same biological signatures of aging that appear in older adults, but at lightning speed. Their bones thin, their hair falls out, their blood cell production falters, their metabolism shifts toward diabetes and high cholesterol. Their stem cells lose the ability to repair tissue. What's shrinking is not just the symptoms, it is the mechanism. These children show hyper accelerated DNA myelin, the same epigenetic changes that form the body's biological clock. Jackson syndrome, that clock doesn't tick, it races, and the body follows. For decades, scientists debated whether the biological clock was simply a marker of aging or a driver of it. Jackson syndrome tilts the answer toward the letter. When the clock speeds up, aging accelerates. When it accelerates, systems fail. This is not just a scientific revolution, it's It is a policy one. Aging is not inevitable. Our system treats it like it is. If aging has mechanisms, if it has gears that can grind too fast, then aging is not a fog. It is a process, and processes can be measured, anticipated, and potentially modified. But in, but our age syst, our age care system is built on the opposite assumption that aging is untouchable. So when we treat its consequences instead, we pour billions into fracture care instead of bone preservation, hospitalizations instead of metabolic resilience, memory care units instead of cognitive maintenance, crisis driven long term care placement instead of proactive planning. We wait for families to break under the weight of caregiving. We wait for older adults to fall, decline, or wander. We wait for emergencies and then we act surprised. His-Jacks syndrome exposes the flaw in the logic. If aging if aging is a biological process with identifiable drivers, then our aged care system is not just reactive, it's outdated. The clock is a cruel uh, the clock is a clue and a warning. The biological clock. Research does not promise miracle cures. It does not offer shortcuts or immortality, but it does offer clarity. Aging is not random, it is patterned, and when these patterns accelerate, decline follows. For policymakers, this this should be a wake up call, because if aging has mechanisms, then prevention becomes possible. Early intervention becomes meaningful. Long term care planning becomes evidence based rather than crisis driven. Healthcare systems can shift from managing decline to preserving function. This is not science fiction, it is the logical extensions or extension of His-Jackson syndrome reveals the policy failure we can no longer ignore. Our current age care system is built on three fragile assumptions. One, aging is inevitable. 2, families will absorb the burden. 3, long-term care is a last resort. These assumptions collapse under the weight of demographic reality. Pennsylvania, like the rest of the country, is aging faster than its infrastructure. Workforce shortages, raising acuity, and and unaffordable housing collide with a system that never was designed a system that was never designed for longevity. The biological clock research doesn't solve these problems, but it reframes them. It tells us that aging is not simply a social challenge, it's a biological one. And biological challenges demand coordinated, anticipatory, system level responses. A new vision for aged care. Imagine an aged care system built around the biology of aging rather than the consequences of it. One where epigenetic biomarkers guide early intervention, preventative geoscience therapies are covered like vaccines. Long-term care planning begins in midlife, not in the emergency department. Care models focus on maintaining resilience, not managing decline. Families receive guidance before crisis, not after. This is not a fantasy. It's a direction. And Asen-Jackson syndrome is the signpost pointing toward it. The children who show us the future. The tragedy of his Jackson syndrome, undeniable but embedded in the tragedy, is a revolution. Aging is not an abstraction. It's a process. It is a process with a clock. And when the clock speeds up, the system fails. Our aged care system is failing too, not because aging is inevitable, but because our policies treat it as un, unknowingable. The science is not. The science now tells us otherwise. Aging has mechanisms. Mechanisms can be understood, and understanding demands action. The question is no longer whether aging can be measured. It is whether our aged care system will evolve fast enough to meet what the biology is already telling us. Okay, guys, that is your C for tonight. I have one more after dinner for you. And then we'll see what I can get done. But I have one more after dinner to present you. So I will see everybody after dinner for a couple shows. For now, Gator Wellness. Take care, folks.